June 6, 1944, a date that would forever be etched in the annals of history. This was the day when the tides of World War II began to turn in favor of the Allies. A date etched in history. D-Day. The day when the Allied forces launched one of the most audacious and meticulously planned military operations ever conceived. The day the Allies launched their audacious assault on Nazi-occupied France. Thousands of soldiers, sailors, and airmen from the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and other Allied nations prepared to storm the beaches of Normandy. This massive invasion, codenamed Operation Overlord, marked a turning point in World War II. It was the culmination of years of planning, training, and coordination among the Allied forces. It was a daring gamble, a complex operation with the highest stakes. The success of the invasion depended on precise timing, secrecy, and the element of surprise. The fate of millions, the future of Europe, hung in the balance. Families across the continent waited anxiously, hoping for liberation from the brutal grip of Nazi occupation. Success was far from guaranteed. The beaches of Normandy were heavily fortified and the German forces were well prepared to repel any invasion attempt. The Germans had fortified the French coastline, anticipating an Allied invasion. They had constructed formidable defenses to thwart any assault. The Atlantic Wall, as it was known, bristled with defenses. Stretching along the coast, it was a formidable barrier designed to prevent any seaborne invasion. Concrete bunkers, machine gun nests, and artillery batteries lined the beaches. These defenses were manned by experienced and battle-hardened German troops. Mines and obstacles awaited any ships that dared approach. The beaches were strewn with barbed wire, wooden stakes, and other obstacles designed to impede the landing forces. Breaking through this formidable barrier would require not only military might, but also a cunning plan. The Allies needed to outthink and outmaneuver the German defenses. The Allies understood the challenge. They knew that a direct assault would be met with fierce resistance and could result in catastrophic losses. They knew that a direct assault would be met with fierce resistance. The German forces were well entrenched and prepared to defend their positions at all costs. A different approach was needed, something to catch the enemy off guard. The Allies devised a plan that involved deception, misdirection, and surprise. This is where deception came into play. A sophisticated campaign designed to mislead and confuse the German High Command. Operation Bodyguard, as it was known, aimed to convince the Germans that the invasion would occur elsewhere. The fate of D-Day, and indeed the war, would hinge on the success of this intricate deception. The Allies' ability to mislead the Germans and achieve surprise was crucial to the success of the invasion. As dawn broke on June 6, 1944, the first waves of Allied troops landed on the beaches of Normandy. Despite facing fierce resistance, they fought bravely and began to establish a foothold. The courage and determination of these soldiers were instrumental in overcoming the formidable German defenses. Their sacrifices paved the way for the liberation of Western Europe. D-Day was not just a military operation, it was a beacon of hope for millions. It signaled the beginning of the end for Nazi tyranny and the restoration of freedom and democracy in Europe. The significance of D-Day cannot be overstated. It was a turning point in World War II, a testament to the bravery and resolve of the Allied forces and a pivotal moment in the fight for freedom. Today we remember and honor the sacrifices made on that fateful day. The legacy of D-Day lives on, reminding us of the cost of freedom and the enduring spirit of those who fought for it. The English Channel, a narrow stretch of water, separated Britain from Nazi-occupied France. This body of water, though seemingly small, held immense strategic importance during World War II. It was the gateway to the liberation of Western Europe, a crucial passage that both the Allies and the Axis powers were keenly aware of. For the Germans, it represented a significant obstacle, a natural barrier against the anticipated Allied invasion. The German High Command, under the leadership of Adolf Hitler, had fortified the coastline extensively, creating what they believed to be an impregnable defense line known as the Atlantic Wall. Yet, they knew an attack was coming. The Allies had been planning Operation Overlord for months, a massive and complex operation that would involve land, sea, and air forces. The Germans were aware of the buildup of Allied forces in Britain, and they knew that an invasion was imminent. The question was not if, but when and where. German intelligence worked tirelessly to predict the exact location and timing of the invasion. They monitored Allied movements, intercepted communications, and analyzed every piece of information they could gather. German intelligence correctly assessed the buildup of Allied forces in Britain. They observed the accumulation of troops, tanks, and ships, all pointing towards an impending large-scale operation. The sheer scale of the preparations indicated that the Allies were planning something monumental. They knew an invasion force was being assembled, poised to strike across the Channel. The Allies had amassed a formidable force, including American, British, Canadian, and other Allied troops, all ready to launch the largest amphibious assault in history. Their focus, however, was primarily on the Pas-de-Calais region. This area, being the closest point between Britain and France, seemed the most logical choice for an invasion. The Germans believed that the Allies would opt for the shortest and most direct route. This was the shortest distance between Britain and France, making it the most logical landing point. The Pas-de-Calais offered a direct route for the Allies to quickly establish a beachhead and push into occupied France. The Germans believed that any sensible commander, including the Allied Supreme Commander, General Dwight D. Eisenhower, would choose this route. Eisenhower, known for his strategic acumen, was expected to take the most straightforward path to ensure the success of the invasion. They poured resources into fortifying the Pas-de-Calais, building up their defenses to an almost impenetrable level. The Germans constructed bunkers, laid mines, and positioned artillery to repel any invasion attempt. They were determined to make the Pas-de-Calais a fortress that the Allies could not breach. Little did they know this seemingly logical assumption was precisely what the Allies were counting on. The Allies had devised an elaborate deception plan codenamed Operation Fortitude to mislead the Germans into believing that the main invasion would occur at Pas-de-Calais. This ruse involved fake radio traffic, dummy tanks, and even a phantom army commanded by General George Patton. The real invasion, however, was planned for the beaches of Normandy, catching the Germans off guard and ensuring the success of D-Day. To maximize the chances of a successful landing in Normandy, the Allies devised an elaborate deception plan, Operation Fortitude. Its purpose was simple, yet audacious, to convince the Germans that the invasion would come not at Normandy, but at another location entirely. Operation Fortitude was a two-pronged strategy consisting of Fortitude North and Fortitude South. Each operation targeted a specific German fear, playing on their assumptions and expectations. The goal was to create a convincing illusion, one that would draw German forces away from the real invasion site. The success of Fortitude depended on a carefully orchestrated campaign of misinformation. Double agents, fake radio transmissions, and even inflatable tanks were deployed to create the illusion of massive troop movements and military buildup. The Germans, bombarded with conflicting reports, would be forced to make decisions based on incomplete and often inaccurate information. Section 4, the Phantom Army, Fortitude North and the Norwegian Threat. Fortitude North aimed to convince the Germans that the Allies were planning a major invasion of Norway. The bait was a fictional force, the British Fourth Army, supposedly stationed in Scotland and poised to strike across the North Sea. To make the threat seem real, the Allies employed a range of deceptive tactics. Fake radio traffic mimicked the communications of a large army on the move. Inflatable tanks and dummy aircraft were strategically placed near coastal areas, visible to German reconnaissance flights. Double agents, posing as disgruntled officers, fed false information to their German handlers. The ruse was remarkably effective. German intelligence believed the threat to Norway was genuine. They held back troops and resources in Norway and Scandinavia, troops that could have made a crucial difference on the beaches of Normandy. Section 5, Smoke and Mirrors, Fortitude South and the Pas-de-Calais ruse. While Fortitude North created a diversion in the north, drawing German attention and resources away from the actual invasion site, Fortitude South targeted the Pas-de-Calais, the area where the Germans expected the real invasion to take place. This region was the closest point in continental Europe to Britain, making it a logical choice for an invasion. The goal was to reinforce this belief, leading the Germans to commit their strongest forces to the wrong location. By convincing the German high command that Pas-de-Calais was the primary target, the Allies aimed to weaken the defenses in Normandy, where the actual invasion would occur. The Allies went to extraordinary lengths to make Fortitude South convincing. They employed a variety of tactics to create the illusion of a massive invasion force preparing to strike at Pas-de-Calais. They constructed dummy landing craft and tanks, strategically positioning them near the coast, visible from the air. These decoys were designed to be seen by German reconnaissance planes, adding to the illusion of a large-scale invasion force. They simulated the sounds of a massive army on the move, using loudspeakers and even recordings of construction noises. These sounds were broadcast at night to give the impression of troops and equipment being moved into position. The deception extended to the highest levels of the Allied command. High-ranking officers participated in the ruse, holding meetings and making public appearances to lend credibility to the fake invasion plans. General Patton, known for his aggressive tactics, was placed in charge of the fictional 1st United States Army Group, or FUSAG. Patton's reputation as a formidable commander made the deception even more believable to the Germans. This gave the impression that a major offensive force was poised to strike at Pas-de-Calais. The Germans, convinced by the elaborate ruse, kept their best troops and resources in the region, waiting for an invasion that would never come. The Allies also used radio transmissions to further the deception. They sent out fake messages and coded signals which were intercepted by the Germans, adding another layer of authenticity to the ruse. Double agents played a crucial role in Operation Fortitude South. These spies fed false information to the Germans, confirming the existence of the fictitious invasion force and its plans to attack Pas-de-Calais. The success of Fortitude South was evident on D-Day, when the real invasion took place in Normandy. The Germans, still convinced that the main attack would come at Pas-de-Calais, were slow to respond to the landings in Normandy. This allowed the Allied forces to establish a foothold and begin their advance into occupied Europe. The deception of Fortitude South had played a critical role in the success of the Normandy invasion, demonstrating the power of strategic misinformation in warfare.